So TGTG has been operating as a space for local and contemporary artists to experiment with few limitations since the fall of 2018. It was co-founded by Jen Merrill and Jefferson Eisenberg, both recent transplants from the Bay Area who first met during grad school at SFAI back before the world was burning. On that cheerful note.
Yeah, we were sassy that day, I think, when we wrote that.
Yeah, it was to finish the sentence. Well, let's finish it with fire.
It was the headbands. That's what it was. Ever since you both got those headbands, you've really been feeling yourselves. I think
Yeah.
that was the problem. It was all the headbands.
Well, thanks for having us. We
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Yeah, I'm excited about this conversation. So last night I went to the opening. I went to Vincent's opening, which was fantastic. And I've been seeing all these different people posting images of it on Instagram too, which I thought was really cool. And despite the world burning down, I saw that there were a lot of people there, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And you know, aside from Vinny's installation, which was amazing, you also had the zine that you were handing out. And so I was curious if you could start by talking a little bit about the zine.
Sure. I'll just give the quick overview, I guess. It started because Jefferson has a love of zines since childhood, and he just wanted to do one. And we wanted to work with Peter Foucault in some way. So we just decided to roll with it. And the zine has an interview with Garrett Daniels and Derek Allard, who had an installation here at TGTG called In Between. So and they have a long-term collaboration. So the interview talks about them working together, about how their lives growing up in the Stockton region influenced the show that they put on with us. And then there's also a link to Derek's sound in there. So you can listen to that on SoundCloud right now. Separately, we're doing some digging around to find other artist initiatives in the area. And we put together a short list, and we know now that there are many, many more, but we put ones that we found in there just as a way to get it out a little bit, and put out a call for any additional ones that people know about for the future. And then as a seg into that, or goes with it, we have this insert in the zine that on one side is a map of those initiatives and where they're located, and some of them are online only. And then on the flip side, there's a little teaser promo for Tom Bethauser and Aaron Kaskowski. I'm so sorry. They put together a wonderful survey of the state of the arts. And so that the flip side of that insert is a little promo to show people that they can go to this awesome website and find that information. So we put it all together, and we wanted it to be free so people could just definitely have it if they wanted.
Yeah.
Well, and it's so cool what you're doing. I mean, because it's not like this is a commercial space. You know, you're doing something that's so vital to the health of the arts community, because people need these spaces for experimentation. And they also need places where, you know, artists are being supported by other artists so that they know how to, you know, help accommodate each other or facilitate their process, so that, you know, it's just a place for experimentation and to pursue what's going on in your mind versus, you know, not to say that there isn't something great about commercial spaces too, because artists need to support themselves. Mm-hmm. But, you know, we very much need those places to convene and to experiment and to support one another. So I think it's interesting that you both have chosen to do all this stuff just to make it happen. I mean, it's not like you're compensating yourselves from this or anything. I mean, you're doing it out of a labor of love and an intention to make it happen.
That's pretty much it in a nutshell.
We need it to happen. You know, it's all self-funded. We don't have infinite personal funds, but at the same time, our drive to make this stuff happen and make it available to the community out here is really strong. So we're just doing it regardless.
Yeah, and I mean, we get something out of it too. We we
love it.
We get to be part of this community, and that's definitely, you know, it works all ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the weather gets colder, it goes back to being your workspace for a while, right? Or has it?
Did, but actually I moved everything out permanently, so it's
Oh,
just TGTG now.
Mm-hmm.
So we have stuff tentatively scheduled. We have a show tentatively scheduled for April.
Mm-hmm.
So we still kind of take the shows where we can kind of fit them in our lives, or the artists fit them in their lives, and also when we just, you know, it's the right projects. So it's not like we're following a schedule where we have to do it every month or every other month.
We could never.
Right.
We don't have that energy.
Yeah, but at the same
Right.
time, it's like we wanted to open up the schedule to have more than just the fall.
Yeah.
And actually, because of the way we handled like the opening last night, like the way we did it with, which was, okay, how can we make it?
uh-oh, you cut out, Jefferson.
Oh, sorry about that.
You still
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Speaking about being able to go like all seasons, the pandemic kind of afforded us an opportunity to actually explore a way to expand how we do receptions outside safely, which also means we've got a way of doing receptions outside weather-wise too. So it's sort of opened everything up actually in a strange way. As you know, counter to the pandemic closing everything else down, it seemed to open up things for us because our receptions are outside to begin with.
It just gave us another challenge,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Well, and so, I mean, if you are doing this on a more infrequent schedule, then, you know, because if you had kind of changed yourselves to a certain time frame, then it becomes work. You know, you're
Right.
feeling like you have to just be finding people because you have to be finding people versus, you know, doing it because somebody is inspiring you or interesting. Or so what is your selection process like? How are you making the decisions to select the artists that you're exhibiting?
Well, it started out, we're transplants here. So we've been here 5 years now. So we didn't really know the community, but we met a few people. I think we got our first referral from Robin Hill.
No, it was actually from Elizabeth Higgins O'Connor.
Higgins O'Connor.
Yeah.
Okay, we put a call out because we wanted to start this space. We don't really know the community yet.
Yeah, it was like
At that
2018.
time,
Yeah, we still hadn't met a lot of people.
So we started out with a referral and just sort of approached an artist who was Rachel Dean.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's been like we've met all the Davis artists and the people connected, and it's starting to branch out a little bit now where we're getting introduced to other artists elsewhere that aren't only an offshoot from the UC Davis program.
Which is still an important
But it's been like a really important intro to us for the local contemporary art community. And
the process for selecting shows, sometimes we see somebody is doing something and we think, oh, they could be a real, what we have to offer at TGTG could really be something they could utilize and really benefit from, just based on what we're seeing and how they work.
And our discussions with them.
And sometimes it's, you know, people are approaching us, and it usually comes down to, we like to have a conversation. We're not looking for an official proposal with what we always say is you don't have to have all your ducks in a row. We just want to see sort of the bones of an idea. So we're actually really interested in the ideas being a little bit not all figured out, because we want the space to be that place where they can kind of experiment and figure it out. We want the pressure off, and we want the experimentation to be as sort of true to that process as it can be, without any, you know, constraints of expectations beyond, you know, just push it.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that's cool. I mean, I've had a similar approach to the art projects that I've worked on with artists at Verge, where I think the first time that was really evidenced was when I worked with Nate Page, who did the Couch Bleachers installation.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's funny because like when you curate a lot of art shows, at first you come at it with this idea that like you're out there picking the things that you want someone to see, you know? Yeah. So like somehow you're kind of this little puppet master. And I started turning that around and thinking, well, what if you're actually talking to an artist and saying, well, what if you had the opportunity to pursue whatever it was you wanted to do? So I'm not going to ask you to show this one thing about what you do that I really like. I'm going to ask you to push something that you really want to push.
Yeah.
And around the same time, I read that article with Hans Ulrich Obrist, where he said that's kind of his MO, is that he would curate these shows and he'd ask artists to do the one thing that they hadn't been able to do in other places, because that was to him. And, you know, obviously they have to give you some plans because you have to know what you're in for.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's always led to really cool stuff, you know, because
Yeah.
then it becomes this exchange between you and that artist, and you're kind of, you know, inspiring each other and riffing off of each other, because you're starting to go like, ooh, what if we did this, or what if we did that? And,
Right.
you know, it starts to become this thing that takes on a life of its own, and it's really fun, you know.
It becomes like energizing, I guess, as an artist ourselves. Like, we're not doing their work obviously, but it gives us that energy that we need to keep on going and keep on doing these things, because if we were going that other route where we're just kind of inviting work that's already like figured out, we know everything, well, we're not going to have so much input besides like a little bit of placement or something, where we might not find it as energizing. Yeah,
it's not about like inserting yourself in that artist process, but it's definitely about like,
there's a lot of conversation.
There's a participation though, and a kind of dynamic. It's more like how I think art really gets made. You know, it's like it happens through conversations.
Never in a silo.
One person is, you know, maybe the author, but it's not entirely done, you know, in this hermetic chamber of solo-ness. You know, there's always other conversations.
Well, and you can always tell when something's really going well or is going to be really interesting by the activity, like the anticipatory activity leading up to it, like on Instagram and stuff, because you can tell that like everybody's creating the thing that everybody's really jazzed about, the thing they're creating, you know? So they're putting up all these posts that are like, oh my God, today we did this, you know? So it's like, it's contagious watching someone else do that, because I know that feeling when you're like, this is gonna look so rad.
That's pretty much it. It's
and I think that kind of energy goes, you know, it goes out into the community at large. People who are paying attention to the scene or following on Instagram or whatever. If in the studio we're getting a lot of energy coming out onto social media, then everybody else gets to follow along for the ride, and then they know that they get to see it when it's time. So.
Totally. All right. Well, unfortunately, we're getting close to the end of our time, but I want to make sure that everybody knows. So it's open by appointment, and then is it also second Saturday in October?
Yes, yes, it is. And as always, masks fully required. All of the rules we've all come to understand. Masks, you know, properly worn over the face entirely. All of those things. But
it's worth seeing in person for sure.
Oh, big time. And it was great. I mean, since it is a garage, you have all the doors open. You know, you're limiting the way people go in. Everybody has a mask on. It was, I mean, you know, I went last night. It was great. Like, there was never a moment where I was like, uh-oh, you know, so.
That's great.
Yeah.
No, you did a great job. It was really super cool.
Thank you.
And I appreciated the headbands.
Yeah.
They're staying forever, I think.
I like it. All right. Well, thank you so much. I can't believe our time's already over, but I really enjoyed the conversation, and I will talk to you both soon.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.